Hello and good evening. Thank you for checking in and tuning in for my update. I have not been on this is an update of 3 days. So thank you for your patience and for tuning in. I appreciate you checking out these videos and your questions, and I absolutely always love and appreciate your questions. So I want to do a quick update with regards to, because everyone always wants to know about general fat loss and muscle loss and all that. This weekend was a great little teacher for John. So let me talk. I actually made a thing for you, so it should pop up. Okay, so here's a little info. So I started at 240. Basically 241. I weigh 224 today. I actually gained about a pound from yesterday to today. Water weight, of course. 18.5 pounds and about just over 1.5 pounds. And my typical history on this is it goes to about ½ pound to a pound a day, which kind of makes sense when you think of it from the perspective of caloric needing 2,000 or thereabouts for a day, and a pound of fat is 3,500 calories, so it's roughly 2 days per pound of fat. But again, you lose so much water weight in those first few days. That's very, very, very much expected. One thing I do want to note, and this is something that I get a lot of questions about, is muscle loss. And so I'm a little leaner. I'll do the other arm. So muscles are still there, right? They're still obviously one thing that I learned early on, and I heard about, but I always thought was a little crazy, is your body can go through a long time just burning fat, and it really doesn't use very, very much muscle or lose much muscle. And the reason for that is because let me turn this off. Because when we are truly in fasting mode, we need to have the ability to go do stuff. Climb a tree, run after something, swim, whether it's for our life or for food or whatever. In other words, we're not sleeping all day. And what I find interesting is most days I could easily take super long walks. I may not be at the same pace of speed most of the time, but I have the ability to. And I say this because there is a capability, once you kind of get through maybe the first couple of years of doing fasting, that there's kind of a breakthrough, and that you're not in as rough a shape as you were when you first started. A couple things that happened this weekend, and I made a note of this in the kind of the detail part of the post today, and this I called the lessons of the weekend. When you do these fasts, what's very interesting is that our body is super intelligent, super intelligent. We often take it for granted, the level of intelligence it has, and what happens is when we are doing these fasts and what have you, it knows, based on you communicating with it, when to chill out and when to not. So for example, today's Sunday evening. Saturday and Sunday, my body, I slept 8 or 9 hours. I generally sleep about 9 hours. It's about 7:30 now. I'm going to go to bed around 9 tonight, and I'll be up around 5:30 or 6. But I say this because I need a little bit more sleep. And what happens is my body knew it's the weekend, and my body said, sleep. So I had to trust it, and I did. So I slept maybe 2-3 hour nap on Saturday. Today I woke up pretty early, 6:30 or something, and then around noontime I slept for about 2.5 hours. I say this because it's very critical that you listen to your body. And interestingly enough, my body's going through a detox, which if you watched my videos before, you get a fever, you will stink, you'll feel hot. So usually you know you have a fever. You will really, you'll feel it. And and typically what's happening, by the way, as well, is your body's doing self-repair in some form, some part of your body. And honestly, I have no idea. Normally that part, as an FYI, as it's being healed, it kind of aches. So in fasts of 2-3 years ago, when I was doing them, week-long fasts or whatever, my knees would be just aching, and my knees would literally be being healed. Same thing with my back and a whole bunch of stuff. But I was just tired the past few days. It may just been plain detox, but I think your body's primarily doing healing the whole time. And I just wanted to say that it's very important that you listen to your body. So I literally slept not half of, but a couple hours Saturday, a couple hours today. And then when I woke up today, it was 2:30, 3 o'clock, and I said, I'm going to work out. And I worked out. And I wasn't 100% energy, but I was probably 80 to 90. I didn't really have any energy issues. I just took maybe 3 to 4 minutes between sets instead of 2 to 3 or something like that. So that's just part of the deal. And if you can understand and respect your body and do that, and just listen to it, I guess is really the point. And I always tell people it took a while for me to get there. I had tried to work out earlier in my fasting journey, and it was awful. It was just awful. Your blood pressure is so low, your heart, the recovery time is like 10 minutes. Like I would do one set of something and be literally panting for 5 or 10 minutes. And what I always tell people is the path to doing this is to make sure that you take the 3 primary electrolytes. I have 2 right here. Actually, I have a third. So one being magnesium. I take, this is the potassium. So this is magnesium, I'm not sure the actual specific kind. Lysinate, glycinate. But the beauty, this is 100 milligrams. And I just kind of take these slowly throughout the day. Maybe you're in a normal day, if you eat a normal meals, you should be able to have 5 of these a day. But it's not ideal to have them all at once because too much magnesium creates a bowel movement problem. So magnesium, and these are kind of the bigger pills. They're not gargantuan, but they're fairly big, right? They're not super small, but they're not super big either. So these are magnesium, and then take one, why not? And then the next one is potassium, and these are the 3 main electrolyte salts. These are what makes it's a game changer. So obviously, as I've said, so this is potassium with the Now brand, potassium. This one's a smaller pill and covered in cellulose, so you don't taste it. The magnesium actually tastes delicious. I actually really enjoy it. So if you ever bought Magnacom, which is a brand, it almost makes the water taste like soda, and it's actually very tasty. But potassium doesn't taste so good. And then the third one, which is in a brine form, this is pink salt. And pink salt, aka obviously salt. And if you've seen most of my videos, I talk about the salt. But the reason it's so important is salt's cheap. Really does help. It raises your blood pressure, which is super helpful when you're fasting because your blood pressure is dropped significantly. And then it gives you minerals. The biggest issue you'll have so besides the electrolytes, which helps your muscles not cramp up, a lot of people will wake up with their feet cramping or it's not fun. Just my suggestion is kind of consistently take it. Your body will tell me if it's too much or too little. Unfortunately, with a bowel movement, a little bit of diarrhea, but you'll get the feedback you need. The magnesium is the biggest culprit, and then even water. I have, regardless of the water, I drink reverse osmosis water from the house, and I'll put 2 or 3 squirts of this. So this is a dropper. So this is a Again, pink salt, it is totally, you can't mix it in, there's a term for it. Well, it's totally in here, you can't dissolve more in there. And I take this and then I'll squeeze that into 2 or 3 of those into like a coffee-sized mug. So it's a little bit salty, but because your body really, really, really needs the electrolytes, it's very helpful. And if you have high blood pressure issues, you can just check out your blood pressure throughout. I'm sure anyone who has a high blood pressure obviously should have a blood pressure monitor at your house, so you can check that. Yeah, but anyway, your body really needs minerals. So I did a whole video on minerals before. I don't need to do that now. So the updates primarily are as my body did need to rest. Still looking young, as you can obviously tell. About the 8th or 9th or 7th, around there. I think it's about a week in, all of a sudden I begin to really look younger. And yeah, so this is where I'm at. Let me think of any other updates. I had a couple questions that I will do in the next one, but because I hadn't talked to you guys in a few days, I wanted to do a straightforward update. The most important thing, as I always say, is never jump into this too quickly. Take your time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. If you are on medication, if you are taking hormonal stuff, if you're a woman and you're near your period, women just avoid the period time. So like when your period's done, it's a great time to do fasting, but don't do it. It'll actually, the loss of carbs will stop or just kind of mess up periods. So, and periods are part of the body's detox. So don't. It's very worthwhile for women to have periods, but I say this so again, people with taking drugs, pharmaceutical drugs for their whatever, it's important to understand how to kind of gauge that. And so I'm really a fan of talking to that person's doctor, finding out what they may think, because a lot of people oftentimes, because again the body does a lot of healing, can wean themselves from this or even eliminate it from their system altogether. But, and here's the important thing, if someone has been taking pharmaceutical drugs, they have a high level of toxicity to the body. So what happens is when someone takes these, the body actually stores these toxins in the person's various muscle tissue and such, and that person will detox these drugs. And I've said this over and over and over again, the time that you refeed, which is when the term for starting to eat again, is the most dangerous period of any fast. And the reason it's so dangerous is most people, when they get into fasting, they don't know how to get into it and how to get out of it. So they get into it by eating how they normally eat, and there's often a bunch of almost like plaque, for lack of a better term, things that are kind of sticky and gummy in their digestive tract. And that's why I always tell people, please, 2 or 3 days prior, fruit, veggies, no dairy, no milk, no bread, no grains. Ideally, no crazy long-chain carbs, even like ground provisions. Literally vegetables and fruit, because you want your colon and your digestive tract as clean as possible. Same thing when you come off it. So when you come off it, first meal for me every single time. So if I were to tell people simplicity, just get a whole giant watermelon and eat it until it's gone. And that'll usually last you a day, day and a half. And then the next day, just eat fruit. You can eat other fruits, but just eat fruit. And then once you've done that, a lot of the work's been done, because what kills people and is really dangerous about fasting is the dumping of toxins as the body dumps toxins into the bloodstream, whatever, but it makes it into the colon primarily. And your skin, you're going to stink. People are going to say your breath smells, and your urine will stink. Your whatever defecating you do, that will stink more than normal. And that's a good thing. Be happy for it. But understand that the risk that everyone talks about is that refeeding. So don't refeed with any normal food. Normal food for me is fruit and veggies, but most people it's not. That's like extra food or healthy food. But that is literally probably among the most important things. So if you don't pay attention to anything I ever say, take your time into growing into becoming a faster. Make it a slow, steady path. So like you should be able to do 2-day fasts, one like a weekend, like Saturday, Sunday, 2-3 times a month with ease before you start going to 3-4 day fasts. And then once you could do 1 or 2 of those a month with ease before you do longer, right? That's the point. And the reason you do that is your body, fasting is very painful in that not when you get to the stage of met, but when most people experience it, it's awful because your body's detoxing so heavily. And again, when your blood is full of these toxins, you feel like crap. You can fill in the word, but that's really what I was thinking. You really do feel like that. You're lethargic. It's awful. It's awful. Awful. But you can get past it by making it a long journey instead of going all in. But once you're going more than 5 days, you have to do this fruit in for a day or two and then out for at least 2 days. And honestly, it's quite delicious and you're hungry. But a lot of people celebrate their long fast with like steak and potatoes and they die. It's not worth it to celebrate in such a way. And honestly, if you're ending that fast and feeling like you're dying so much, you probably should fast a little longer. I'm just being truthful. You should be able to finish the fast and feel fairly on top of all of this stuff. For a long fast, of course, is what I'm talking about. I'm talking like, 21 days or longer. Okay, so, but the other thing is, when you're doing fasts and things dump in your colon, it's important to realize that if they don't get flushed out, you can feel really awful because they'll get reabsorbed by your system. And it's very a lot of people who've taken all these pharmaceutical medications deal with this. It's really awful for people who've taken a lot of medications for a long time. They need to really slowly do fasting. But as they do it, because they're often the biggest risk for dying because the amount of toxicity these things carry. So when you do it, you should buy what's called activated charcoal. You should buy what's called psyllium husk, and every single day. And it's nice. You're going to love it. You're going to thank me for it. You take 4 psyllium husk tablets, and then you take a tablespoon, 4 activated charcoal tablets. Just drink them. And then you immediately after, you take a tablespoon of psyllium husk powder, mix it in like a tall glass of water, drink it. Don't let it get thick. So you just drink it one time, and then you do that every day. And the cool thing about it, what you're going to, again, love me for, it's virtually no calories for your body, but the side benefit is it feels like you're full. So it's really kind of a blessing, but it's actually flushing out these toxins. So I'm a huge fan of that for people who are in the early stages, because otherwise it's an unpleasant journey regardless, but there is a positive side. You can work out like I did. You can go 13 days and barely notice between now and a week ago, Again, your energy's lower. I'm not 100% energy, but I would say I'm 70 to 75% right now, which is nice. A huge amount of mental clarity. I sleep like a baby. Literally touch the bed out. I do use tools to give me energy if I'm like, I have a sales training course I'm doing now. Certain clients I really want to be on for, I'll have a cup of coffee or two. But it's important you do that early in the morning because you have higher levels of sensitivity to it. You don't have to do that, but you're going to burn out energy-wise if you don't. So with that, just want to say hello. I appreciate you. Thank you for checking me out, for following me on this journey. This is something I promised my friend Kivan when I did it a couple years ago, and I didn't even make 40 days. So I'll make it this time, my friend. And just know that it's a patient journey. I am I a quarter in? No, I'm past a quarter. Yeah. So whatever, I'm in 28%. But it takes a while. But it's a patient journey, and it's nice too because you can have all your other work you're focusing on. It's almost like you were doing this marathon the whole time. So, but obviously you can tell it makes you, because you have less energy, you have a calmness. So I am very calm, and it brings up or kind of weakens your emotional defense system. So you can't handle arguments. Sleep is paramount. If you don't get, for me, if you don't get enough sleep, you become very irritable, easily. I'm usually exceptionally patient. Because I'm fasting, I have far less patience than normal. But it's great. But it's great. My spiritual practice is beautiful. As long as you're not having coffee, your mind kind of relaxes more, and you can go deeper into connection. And yeah, have greater dialogue with higher dimensional beings. So with that, have a blessed night. I appreciate you immensely, and I'll give you an update hopefully tomorrow. All right, bye-bye.